Even though I make a living on the internet and the internet's helped me find a lot of great friends, there's still some things that really annoy me about the web. Specifically, I want to talk about the echo chamber of validation that is social media and the internet. I've talked about social media before, did a whole podcast with my buddy who's a PhD in psychology over on the Geekdom 101 podcast. And we talked about like the dangers of social media. But one thing we didn't talk too much about is sort of what social media has done as far as us as people and our ability or lack thereof to have intelligent discussions without it being an echo chamber. You know, Twitter, Facebook, I mean, those are the two big ones. I mean, Instagram's mostly photos and things like that. That has its own problems. But, one of the things that has gone on lately since social media's been around, which is it's still a new thing. Twitter, I think, is 10 years old. Facebook's like, almost 15. But one thing that social media has kind of created is this echo chamber for us to just say things and then create this sort of cultish kind of group or like gang-like group to, get an agenda going. That's always a bad thing. But on a much smaller scale, I think social media has, for some people, eliminated the entire reason for having a discussion, validation, and just seek validation. Now, what am I talking about? Okay, I'll give you an example. So, every so often, you go to Facebook and you'll see a girl say something like, I just broke up with my boyfriend, right? Now, when people publicly talk about their relationship and they say, I just broke up with my boyfriend or I just broke up with my girl or whatever, most of the time, again, this is a generalization, but most of the time it's a cry for help. Most of the time it's them telling the world, either because they're upset, angry, or sad, whichever, that they ended it with so-and-so person. And what they're expecting from that, and what they're probably going to get, especially if you're a girl on social media, is you're going to get a bunch of people who are validators. You're going to get a bunch of dudes who are thirsty, and a bunch of your girlfriends to reply back and say, oh, fuck him, and they're going to end up burying your boyfriend, even if they have no idea what he did, what you did, or what caused the breakup. They might not have a clue, but they're going to jump to make them feel better. Now, I am totally for trying to make your friends feel better. That's definitely a good thing. However, validating somebody's opinion or somebody's statements is not the right way to do it every time. What really needs to happen is one of those friends needs to actually reach out and have a conversation about it and actually have a discussion, whether it be verbal or whether it be through text, even though verbal conversations are a lot better than text because text can never really capture emotion and tone. And that's why sometimes you'll get into a fight with somebody over text and not realize their tone was not what you thought it was, or vice versa. You have a disagreement. So what really needed to happen was somebody needed to talk to the girl and say, look, you just broke up with your boyfriend. Let's talk about it and actually have a discussion, like what led to the breakup, how she actually feels, and really go through sort of this therapeutic conversation. Whether you're a therapist or not is irrelevant, to make her feel better about it. But that's not always what happens. What happens is people publicly and purposely post these things so that they can have others have their back. And what ends up happening is it could create a civil war. And then you have a situation where sometimes she's not being totally honest or he's not being totally honest. And you're kind of in the middle of it, which is why one thing that I've learned in the past 4 years of doing YouTube anyways is try not to have an agenda and try not to take sides on things that don't involve you. I've learned that. There's situations where there's beef going on with some of my friends, and I choose not to get involved unless I feel there's a extreme injustice going on. Like if my friend gets false flagged or something, then I don't mind stepping in for something like that. I typically try not to, though, unless they absolutely need it. You know what I'm saying? Then I step in. But it's best not to. It's just a better idea not to do it. Now, the problem is that people post things on the internet just to find people to validate them, and it's not really real. Because most of the time they don't even know what really happened. And if they knew what really happened, maybe they'd give you a different advice. You know what I mean? If they had the whole story, the bigger picture. So think about that. Next time you're on Facebook or Twitter and you see somebody saying something, see if you really care, inquire more about what's going on and see if you can get to the bottom of the problem. Because there's something obviously internally wrong with them. They're in some kind of pain from their breakup or whatever they're talking about, and it's good to kind of do that. But what sucks is that on the internet, you've got this echo chamber. And the problem is that YouTubers are very powerful people. There's lots of impressionable subscribers who are going to listen to a YouTuber. I have the same thing. I just try my best not to abuse it. And others do abuse it. And they create these armies of trolls that are willing to ride or die over a dude they don't even know. And I don't think it's a good idea. I really don't. And, I've got people like that for me, and I don't think it's a good idea to ride or die. I appreciate it, but it's one of those things where I'm not going to abuse them and have them do things that are going to be negatively reflect on me as a person or on my brand. You don't want to do that. But some do it. And sometimes YouTubers will say something and do no research and do nothing, no fact checking, and people will believe it and then spread their message, and it spreads and spreads and spreads. Then you've got, this big hodgepodge of negativity, and nobody's willing to sit there and actually have an intelligent, calm discussion and figure out what the problem is and get to the point of it. Because I do feel like we as people, in general, if we sit down and talk about things, we can at least come to an agreement, or at least agree to disagree without it being a fight. But on the internet, it's a flame war. It's a fight. And it shouldn't be. And it's dumb because it's not even a real fight. It's just words. It's just words on a computer screen. You're not really doing anything. But the problem is that those words can hurt. The reality is that words hurt. And when somebody says something mean about you or calls you a name that actually stings, it hurts. And not everybody has the same tolerance level. One thing I don't like is when somebody tells somebody else, well, it's the internet, don't take it so seriously. It doesn't matter. Why you let them get to you? Not everybody has that same tolerance level. I've got friends of mine, a couple of female creators who don't care that guys are constantly talking about how they want to fuck them. But I have other female friends that are creators that care. It bothers them. It's like, I'm not trying to sexualize myself. Why are they sexualizing me? And that's what I'm saying. Every person's different. So if you say something mean to somebody over the internet, even if they're super well known or big or whatever, it might not just roll off their back. You might actually ruin their day. You know what I mean? But what sucks is that, conversely, the other way is, they create this echo chamber of thought, and the problem is there's no actual thought. And most of it is just, they have this image in their head of a certain message, and they want to add to it things that are illogical and not true. And that's not the way things need to be, which is why I wonder if the internet's ever going to actually be taken seriously. One of the scariest things to happen was the James Gunn situation, because they took things that he said years ago and made it into a big deal, and the dude lost his job over it. And I don't think he should have lost his job over it. Yeah, he did some creepy things, but he's never been convicted. Never, you know what I'm saying? But again, that's just my opinion. It was so long ago, these inappropriate jokes. And yeah, they were inappropriate, but it was so long ago. You know what I'm saying? That's my opinion on the James Gunn situation. I don't really know what happened, though. And as a result of that, I choose not to get involved. Because it's not of my business. We don't have any authority to actually tell Disney what to do. Disney does what they want to do. And it just becomes this constant seeking approval and validation from people you don't even know. And to me, my whole thing is this. Here's my kind of way of thinking about it. If somebody is on the internet making a comment about you, it's sometimes it hurts. But the best thing to always remember is, unless they actually know you and they interact with you on at least a semi-personal basis. They don't have to talk to you every day, but if you have friends who you talk to on the phone, Skype, Discord, text a lot, they at least have a better picture of who you are as an overall person than somebody on the internet who doesn't know you. So that's who you should believe in. That's who you should talk to. That's who you should listen to, because they know you and they know the good and the bad, and they know kind of how to talk to you. Now, understand that's also dangerous because they may want to validate you. We have a lot of validator friends in our lives. So you got to find somebody who's really real and who's going to say, look, I love you, but you screwed up here and you screwed up there. And we need to be more open to that. We need to be more open to bettering ourselves from people whom we trust, who know us, who have our best interests at hand. Not some internet troll who doesn't know you, who makes a comment about you off of a joke you made and tries to paint you as being somebody who you're not. Don't focus on that. And it's dangerous because you've got an echo chamber that eventually becomes an army, and they have this one set reality, and their set reality is so ingrained in their mind that no matter how much evidence you throw at them to the contrary, they're just not going to believe it. It's almost like a cult. It really is like a little cult. So That's just one thing about the internet nowadays that bugs the crap out of me, is these echo chambers and these people seeking validation. You know, whenever somebody posts a picture on Instagram, whether it be like a dude with his shirt off all muscled up, or, you know, a girl looking all hot, sometimes it's just to say, hey, look, I've worked for this. I respect that. But if you're going to sit there and just do it because you want people to like you, they don't really like you. They don't even know you. They like your picture. And it's not genuine. It's very hard to find true, genuine, you know, love or whatever you want to call it, friendships, off people you don't know. You got to get to know them first. Then you really know the truth. So remember that. Anyways, that's all I have to say. Nothing much else here. I'll talk to you soon.